Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I want to talk about what are the Democrats' plans for Black Americans. And since Joe Biden has been in office, we have seen the fluctuation of funds given out to non-Black Americans, to the Asian community, to Afghanistan, and to Ukraine. And recently, I believe the other day, the president of Ukraine was in the US, and Joe Biden talked about US support financially for Ukraine. While Joe Biden have billions of dollars to give to non-Americans, non-Americans, Ukraine, Asian or the Asian community, and other people besides Black Americans who built this country, who were enslaved within the US, who have to deal with slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, crack epidemic, all these things. We have some proofs. What are the Democrats' plans for Blacks? It's not social reform. It's not financial reform or finances or economics, for example, such as reparation. The plans that the Democrats have for Black Americans, we can see it from the Democratic Party, who has no shame in hiding it. It's not social reform. It's not changing any laws or anything tangible, but what they have for plans for Blacks is incarceration, building more jails, building more prisons. I want to show this clip. And in this clip is going to show you in New York, which is a Democratic state, a liberal state, and the mayor who is Black, that the plans they have for Black Americans in New York, which is going to be the template for other Democratic states, liberal states, is to build more jails and build more prisons. So I want to play this clip, because the clip speaks for itself.
DemocracyNow.org, Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman as we look now at the fight to stop the construction of what could be the world's tallest jail in Chinatown, the neighborhood of Manhattan. The 300-foot tall so-called jail scraper, or mega jail, would be a third as high as the Empire State Building. It's one of 4 new jails that are part of a plan to replace the city's notorious Rikers Island jail, where 18 prisoners have died this year alone. The Marshall Project reports the borough-based jail plan focuses on building near courthouses and would feature jails meant to be more, quote, humane. Opponents of the $8 billion plan, including the No New Jails Coalition, have called instead for the city to invest in non-carceral violence prevention, harm reduction, and crisis management. In addition to the jail scraper in Manhattan, the city's plan includes new jails in Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. It excludes Staten Island, predominantly white and conservative. Chinatown is one of New York City's poorest neighborhoods, with more than a quarter of residents living in poverty, including a third of senior citizens. In March, hundreds snaked through Chinatown's busy streets and formed a human chain to protest the jail. This is a clip from the short documentary Jail Scraper versus Chinatown by the award-winning filmmaker John Alpert, co-founder of DCTV, which has been located in Chinatown for half a century, the former home of Democracy Now! The direct action was organized by Neighbors United Below Canal. This is the co-founder who will join us in a minute.
We are not letting you put up these fences. We're going to defend Chinatown. We're going to do this civil disobedience to block this truck. Everybody sit down. Any company that comes to Chinatown to profit off of the building of this jail or the demolition of these two jails is not welcome in Chinatown, Little Italy. You are not welcome here. People first, no new jails. People first, no new jails. People first, no new jails. People first, no new jails.
We're doing it for our community. We're doing it for our seniors. Right behind you is a senior living center. We're doing it for them. We're doing it for the residents.
Over 12,000 letters written to Mayor Adams against this jail. We have heard zero response from his administration. How dare he not even respond to his constituents?
The protesters mentioned New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who took office in January, has continued to support the jail plan he inherited from Mayor Bill de Blasio, despite Adams vowing to stop it when he was on the campaign trail. This is then candidate Eric Adams speaking in April of 2021 in Chinatown.
I know this community well. As a police officer, I was assigned in this community. I know how much they have endured. And so if we want to stop the thoughtlessness that goes into what this community has experienced with the recent level of hate crimes, let's stop the institutionalizing of the hate that we're seeing in government. So I join them today and saying, no new jail, no building up a jail in this location. We can do a better job.
Was then candidate Eric Adams. Over the weekend, construction heated up on the jail scraper in Chinatown, even as opposition continues. Just before we went to broadcast, filmmaker John Alpert recorded this update from DCTV's Mike Kimber. It's just...
So what we can see here from this video, the Democratic elected of New York, Eric Adams, is continuing the plans for building mega jails across New York, across the 5 boroughs, except for Staten Island, which is majority white and conservative. And he's building them in the areas where Black people live and other minorities. And we see from this clip of the Chinese community who do not want this mega jail in their neighborhood. They probably want it somewhere else, but just not in their neighborhood. They did mention in the video that what about instead of building jails, having social programs? And this is the liberal state, New York. And this is the liberal mayor of New York and the liberal governor of New York. What the Democrats have for the blacks in America, this is just a window into the mind setting and the plans of the Democrats. What they have for Black folks is more prison, more jail, more pain, more suffering. They don't want to make the tangible change to correct racism or correct white supremacy or the effects of white supremacy and systemic racism. They don't want to make the changes that's going to be social changes that are needed. They don't want to make those changes, but they're going to keep on perpetrating the white supremacist system as it was planned to keep Black people down by keeping them incarcerated, illiterate, and away from economics or resources. This showing you in this video what's on the mind and the plan of the Democratic Party for Blacks. It's more incarceration, more prison. So when you see them building these prisons, which they claim they want to replace Rikers Island, well, if you look at the different states, the different boroughs they want to build them in, and they're going to be mega jails. The one in Manhattan is going to be the 3rd largest building in Manhattan. That means that they have a long term plan for this. Who are they going to put in there? Who are the people they're going to put in there? They're not going to put the Asians in there, especially not passing Joe Biden passing the Asian hate bill. They're not going to put Caucasian people in there because they're not building these mega jails in Staten Island. They're going to put black people in there. They're going to put black people in there. And it's giving you a good look at what the Democrats have planned for black people. More prison, more incarceration, more jail time. So that means that they're not going to correct anything in the legal system that's causing mass incarceration. They are putting black people in prison. They're not going to change none of the social issues that's going to cause black people to do crime or the criminal behavior due to not having access to economics. They're not going to, that means that they're not going to build better schools. They're not going to bring in resource in these black communities because someone has to be put in these jail cells. These jail cells are made for somebody. We know for sure they're not made for white people. They're made for black people, predominantly black males. This is white supremacy at work, and it's through the liberals. The liberals are no different from the Republicans. They both stand for white supremacy. They're just two sides of the same coin. There's no difference from them. I don't care if it's a liberal who's black American, who's a person of color or a minority. It's the same thing. The same program. And by them investing all this money into these mega jails, it shows you that somebody has to go in these jails all across the boroughs of New York, mega jails. Somebody has to be in there. Who's going to be in there? Black people's going to be in there. So that means that the business has to keep on going to make sure that these jail cells, mega jail cells, or these mega jails have the influx of people going inside of them to keep up the jail, to keep up the overhead, to keep up the salary and the money that it costs to keep up these jails. So they're going to have a marketing plan. That means they're going to have a marketing plan for them to get people to go to jail. So what's going to be the marketing plan? The same marketing plan that white supremacy has been using to incarcerate black people all the time. Bad schools and no access to economics. And who they bring in? People of color, politicians to sell out black people. That's what the Democratic Party has planned for black people. We see it right here from New York City, one of the most liberal state, probably after California. It's showing you what the Democrats and black people voted for Eric Adams. Unfortunately, black people voted for this guy too in New York. Black people voted for the current governor of New York. Even where she's from, upstate New York, she didn't even get votes from them white people's upstate New York. The black people votes helped put the governor of New York, who's a white woman, in her position. And black people also helped Eric Adams, who is black American, get in office. And this is what they're planning to do. We're helping our own oppressors to oppress us. Us black people are helping our own oppressors to help us. I'm sorry, we helping our own oppressors to hurt us. I say it again. We helping our own oppressors to oppress us. They ain't planning to put they're not planning to put no white folks in that prison. Only white folks gonna be in those jails or no mega jails. Only white folks going to be in there, the ones who are running the place and the correction officers. That's the only white folks that are going to be going in and out of there. They're going to be the only people in there that's going to be working there. White folks. That's the only white folks you're going to see in them mega jails running it. So when you see the city building up these mega jails everywhere in New York, that also means they're not going to fix the school system, because the school system in New York is the prison to pipeline in black communities. That means that family court is not going to change. So family court is going to keep on separating black men for their children. So these single mother household who's raising these beta males, they're going to be the ones who are going to be targeted to go in these mega jails. They're going to keep that system flowing. You're not going to fix anything in the system, whether it's the legal system, the school system, or the social system. They're going to keep everything as it is so they can have people, black people, to make sure they could go to those jails, fill those jail cells. That's something for black folks to think about.